I always get nervous when I hear that. Welcome to your District 3 meeting. We're just going to let people pop in. Good to see all the all the familiar faces. Hope everyone's gets a chance to get outside a little bit today. It's nice springish day. Welcome. We're just going to take another minute just to let folks roll in. Welcome to your District 3 community meeting. Maybe we'll go to 10:02 and then we'll jump in. Good to see everybody. It's a nice crowd for a Friday morning. Thank you all for making the time. Miss Hill's even in the car. Good for you. That's you know you want to get your information. Doesn't matter where you are. You got to get it. Let's give. See, I think we got a critical mass here, and we are recording this. So, all right, Keith, we ready to go? We got thumbs up from Keith. All right, welcome everyone. District 3 February meeting. We're so excited to have you all here and spend a little time together. Just as always, we're going to go through a few quick norms. I know y'all hear them every month, but it doesn't hurt to bang through them one more time. First, let me just welcome staff members on the call. I see Ms. Sofianis. We'll hear from her in just a few minutes. Travis, Dina, a few others. Thank you all for being here. And I would ask as questions come up, and I guess I'm really looking at you, Travis, if you can, I'll look to you to manage the chat and drop in links as appropriate. So what is the purpose of these meetings? To share what's going on in the district. This is a little bit of a way to have a little bit more two-way dialogue. I want to hear your perspective. We're going to have a big chunk of the meeting for Q&A to hear what's on your all minds. This is not a decision-making meeting. We will not be taking a vote at the end. It's more just about information exchange. Couple of norms. Presume good intent. I say it every time. It doesn't hurt to repeat it. We're all here because we care about our students, trying to get to the best possible path forward there. Given make space so folks can be heard. If you have something to say, you can put it in the chat, or you'll have an opportunity to raise your hand. But we want to make space so everybody can be heard. The chat will be monitored. We are going to stick to an hour to respect folks' time, so we're usually pretty good about that. I do have a newsletter that we publish every month. It's short, and so but it's just the information I would want. I'm a parent. It's all the information I want to read. I don't need 10 pages of stuff, and so I'll put that link in the chat too. And so feel free to sign up to that if you're not already getting it. And I do these monthly meetings because people have asked me to do it. And so as long as folks keep wanting to engage, we'll make space for that. But thank you for being here. I know you got a lot of things competing for your time. All right, so how are we going to do this meeting? I'm going to provide a couple updates real quick. We're going to turn it over to Ms. Sofianis, our cluster superintendent, to give you a little bit of overview of what she's working on and her role. And then we're going to make time for general Q&A, and Keith will moderate us as we go, so we can do this in an orderly way. Okay, a couple updates that just to run through, folks. We got a board meeting on Monday at 2:30. The work session will include a bunch of stuff around district investments for the coming year. One of the key items will be compensation. We made a big investment in compensation last year for our teachers, 11%, and staff, 11%. This year will be more measured, a traditional step increase. We're also making the move to remove a lot of the incentives that were layered on. What we have found is that now we are the number one in most categories, the number one payer in the metro area. So a lot of these other incentives have seemed less necessary. Retention has improved dramatically. It's up, I think, 5 points, along with vacancies are down. So we feel like we've got our compensation where we need to be. So right now we just need to maintain that. We don't need to make any dramatic moves there. Big shout out to King Middle School Principal Gibbs for being named the FPSE Georgia Federation of Public School Employees Principal of the Year. Great stuff happening at King Middle School. Just wanted to shout her out. If you don't know her, she, great stuff happening at King Middle School. Love her energy, and I'm so thrilled to see her on stage at City Hall accept that award. Pre-K lottery, for those of you that got little ones, the APS offers a full day funded preschool program via the lottery. The application closes March 10th. So if you want to get in the queue there, the link is on the pre-K website. And actually, if you get my newsletter, I'll include it there too. So please consider. It's a great way to get it's a great free way to get your kid plugged into APS and into learning, and to get them out of the house too. I had little kids, I know. Go team elections. So the deadline is extended till March 7th. Go teams, we love democracy here in America. Don't read the papers, but we love democracy. And so if you can serve on your Go team, it's a great way to be engaged, to get information and really partner with your principal, partner with your school community. Please submit if you're thinking about it, if you're on the fence. I say get involved. It's a great way to be engaged in your community. And so those declarations have another week. Travis, if you can put that link in the chat for folks to consider the Go team, that would be awesome. Personal announcement. I was appointed to the Invest Atlanta board this past week, and so I want to make sure that development supports Atlanta Public Schools, and so that's what I'll be looking to make sure that if we're going to do these tax allocation districts, we're going to give incentives that it supports our communities and doesn't divert revenue to projects that might have happened otherwise. So more to come on that. And then my last announcement is the strategic planning process. We are we have had 3 meetings. Keith, is that right? We had 3 meetings so far, Travis? Yeah, I think so. We had one last night at Hollis. These are great ways to get involved as we set our strategic plan for the next 5 years. Just really briefly, the way this process works is we're right now in the phase of collecting goals from folks, from the community. Then the superintendent and staff will take that and we'll prioritize those into the key items that we want to focus on. And then eventually that will drive the strategic plan. We're hoping to do this over the next 9 days or so. There's a survey, and Travis, if you could put that link in the survey or put that link in the chat. If you can't make one of these sessions, I know it's hard to get out and go to some of these events. But please add your input through the survey. It only takes a few minutes, and that way we can make sure that we're investing in the areas that are important to you all. I think, is there anything in the chat that I need to attend to before I introduce? Oh, thank you for that. Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right. So as we do with these meetings, we try to make sure that we're bringing some content to y'all. So it's not, we will make time for question and answer, but I thought that this would be a great opportunity to introduce, reintroduce to many of you, Audrey Sofianis, who is our cluster superintendent for the Jackson and Midtown clusters. This is a new-ish model that Dr. Johnson, obviously principal supervisors is a model that we've always had, but this organization is relatively new. And so these are essential roles. I'll tell you just one more quick story. When I was superintendent of Fulton County Schools, we would have cabinet meetings every Monday. But the real important meeting was the area superintendents that would meet later that day. Those are the principal supervisors. And to me, that's the beating heart of the district. That is where change happens in a district. That's where our principals look to for guidance. Yes, there's a lot of things that we work on, but those area superintendents, here we're calling them cluster superintendents, principal supervisors, those are essential roles in our district. So I couldn't be more excited to have Ms. Sofianis in that role. She was my daughter, or all 3 of my kids' principal at Morningside, and really knows education, really knows leadership. And so what I've asked Audrey to do is tell us a little bit about your background and introduce a little bit about this role and your priorities. And so we'll take a few minutes, and then we'll have folks can ask questions to Ms. Sofianis afterwards before we get into general Q&A. That was a lot for me. Ms. Sofianis, tell us about yourself. What brings you here today?
Good morning, everyone. It is good to see you. Yes, I was the principal of Ken's 3 kids, and Audrey, his oldest, who's already graduated, was my same name friend. There were a few Audreys that went through the school when I was there, but I'm very excited to see you all this morning. I recognize a lot of people I know from Knox who just left at Morningside in 2nd grade. Mom's on the call, all the way up to Luca and Liam, who are seniors. And I know Sarah is a senior also at Midtown. So I'm getting to know kids at the other schools. So, but I'll tell you a little bit about myself, what my job looks like, what some of my priorities are. And then, if you need to reach out, how to do that. So, and I'll stay on the call the whole time. Part of my job is to learn the trends of concerns and areas for action and improvement. And I'm trying to get on the front end of things. And so learn about those trends maybe before they even become a thing. So I'll be on the call the whole time, and then you can always just put something in the chat to me too. So I'll start monitoring the chat for the rest of the meeting after I talk. But just so you know, I started out as a teacher. I taught second grade. I taught a little bit of high school, and primarily in fourth and fifth grade. I was also a tech coach in a school system in Indiana, helping fourth and fifth grade teachers and families learn how to use technology back in the day. I became a principal in that school system and was a principal there when I was then recruited. I kind of put my toe in the water in Atlanta, and I was recruited actually by a recruiting firm that the superintendent hired. They found me in Indiana and asked me to come and interview for Sutton Middle. And was reluctant at first because my background was elementary, but was persuaded over time to come, fell in love with the panel and the interview team, and was at Sutton for 7 years as principal. Left for a year. I actually studied with Tony Robbins with my husband. We traveled the world and just did something crazy. We're both huge learners. My husband was a professor. I was a teacher. And so we love learning. We did that. And then I came back to Morningside. So I was in my 23rd year of being a principal when I then expressed some interest in this job, and here I am. So that's a little bit of just my background. And I did this over 2 states, by the way. I was Indiana and then, of course, Georgia, having been here since 2007 now. But, what does a cluster superintendent do? It's like a kind of a mouthful of a job. And there's 15 schools, it's all the Jackson schools, all the Midtown schools, about 10,300 kids. So when I ran around and told my students, my most recent students at Morningside, where there were 740 kids, that I was now going to be helping 10,300, their minds were blown, and so has mine been. But what a pleasure it is to go around and visit all these schools. There's such exciting things going on. But in my role, so as a parent, the most key and influential person for your children or your child is the teacher, right? Right after that is the principal of the school. So my role is to help empower, coach, help problem solve, service, support the principal. That is my true role. Yes, I am the principal supervisor, but this is with the vision of Dr. Johnson, just such a key and important role. Just so you know, we meet the cluster superintendents. There are 6 of us. We meet with Dr. Johnson every single week. That is just shows the priority of the school and the principal and the central office in providing what the schools need to be successful. So again, I'm trying to get on the front end of things and provide what the schools need, because my biggest priority and the biggest priority of the school system is student achievement. And so that is where I am focusing my work. Student achievement is the number one priority, followed very quickly by all the things related to whole child. Whether it is sports, whether it is support, whether it is extra services, whatever is needed for that whole child piece, that social and emotional growth right after that student achievement. And then it's really getting to know the communities. And I'm doing that in so many different ways, from, talking and meeting with individual parents, from being in the schools, visiting classrooms, meeting with the leadership teams of the schools. I attended, just observing their work. I attended a whole child committee meeting and really saw that school in action, and just so impressed again, like that school knew the kids so well. They just knew the kids so well, and the supports being provided. So I'm getting to know the communities that way. I have met with parents one-on-one. I've done video calls with parents. I'm attending events. I was just at King Middle. I know you just spoke about King Middle. They just gave out, I think, close to 500 laptops through AT&T and partnerships with several organizations. Chick-fil-A was there with the dinner. And it was great. And it's something I think you can find more out about because they've given away thousands of laptops for kids in the metro area. King was their last site just Wednesday night. And so I got to spend a few hours there getting to know that. But I know you can probably just Google. I don't even know how it happened. Google laptops for kids, AT&T, because that's who's giving them away, along with some other partners. The City of Atlanta, the College Football Playoff Association was involved. CompuDopt was another organization involved, and you can register and at a future event in the metro area. So check that out. So that's how I'm getting to know the communities as well. So another big thing, and you all know that each school has a report card, and it's a lot of alphabet soup out there, but this is called CCRPI. It's the report card for the state of Georgia. There's all kinds of components in that. So I'm really working with schools to help them, increase their understanding in each of the components. I actually went to a training with two of the schools, Barack and Michelle Obama Academy in Benteen. Actually, Barack and Michelle Obama, I went at their invitation. So it's just a learning about how we can increase those scores, because we don't want to leave any points on the table, which happens, and then you don't get the best report card, just like what a kid does by not checking their work. I'm doing that work. Right now, there is a climate survey that each of you, hopefully you've already filled it out, but each of you can fill out for your schools. That is due, it closes on March 14th. I know you can get information from your schools or on your websites if you don't know where to go. Each school now has their own link. So, and the students in grades 3 through 12 fill out the survey. Parents at the school can fill out the survey. Teachers fill out the survey, and then other staff at the school fill that out. And that's a part of that report card. So be sure you check that out and fill that out on behalf of your school. It's all kinds of questions about the climate of the school, working with the teachers, how your students feel, how you feel as a parent. So it's a great survey to fill out. And again, you've got still a few more weeks to do that. Doesn't close till March 14th. Some other things, again, I kind of shared what's going on at King, but I do have to say the Lady Jaguar basketball team is in the Final Four for the state. This is very exciting. So I know I signed the paperwork. Another thing I do in my job is I get to sign all the paperwork of what these schools are doing. I cannot tell you the number of experiences and field trips. I just signed one, I think, yesterday, the day before, for the fan bus that's going to load up kids and go. I think this is at Fort Valley tomorrow. Just so excited when our schools do well. But I could be on this call every single month and just list the things going on. There's so many Black History programs taking place today or have already taken place in our schools, competitions of all kinds. It is just exciting. And I just have to tell you, I'll be honest with you. When I do visit Morningside during the school day, I get pretty emotional because, you become attached to kids and families. But what has kept me going is meeting all the other kids at all the schools. Like when I was at King the other night, I met a couple sixth graders, and one gentleman just came up and introduced himself to me. And I was like, wow, I'm so impressed with you. I love middle school kids. So that has really kept me going, is meeting the kids. I was visiting Jackson High and just a dismissal. And I went up and started talking to the kids. They have this cool concession stand thing that they do at the end of the day, and kids are buying snacks. I'm like, what deal was this? This is so great. So again, I could sit here. I set myself a visual timer for my 10 minutes. Actually, parents, if you don't have one of these for your kids, I highly recommend, even as an adult, you just turn it, and it's a visual timer. We use these in the elementary space, but it's even good for adults to stay focused. So I know that's the end of my 10 minutes, and I could be on this call every month and just list, and maybe I will come on periodically and just list all the fantastic things going on. But I'm here to help you all too as communities within your schools and within the cluster. I love to see the cluster connections, right? From elementary all the way up to through high school, because that's what this is about, is preparing these kids for uh, post high school and beyond, whatever that looks like. I have loved looking at things like I'm learning a lot about dual enrollment, learning about shortened days so kids can have opportunities to do other things in the high schools. As we look at all the different programming from that K-12 space. So if you ever do, how things should work if you do have an issue, I always encourage people, start with your teacher. Start with whatever teacher, whether it's one of the high school, one of the middle, start with the teacher. If you feel like that is not solving the issue, then reach out to the principal. I do talk to the principals a lot. I've got two phones. They're on both. So, constantly video calls, texting. So many times I may know about a situation. And if you feel like you need to reach out to our office, I just have a very small team, but you can reach out to me. One of my team or myself will talk with you to try to get things solved as quickly as possible. But we will ask you, have you talked to the principal? Have you talked to someone at the school? So try and do that first, because really that will get your issue solved as fast as possible for your child. That's the truth of the matter. And sometimes when you reach out to me first, it takes a while. So really reach out to the school first. But if you need to, you are welcome to reach out to me and we'll help you with whatever it is. But I'd love to answer any questions you all have. I know there's all kinds of topics in each of the clusters and schools, so I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Sofianos. Thanks for that introduction. And it is right. You are at the center of gravity here, and I appreciate your reminder both to start with your school, work with your school, and give them an opportunity to respond. And also just the executive functioning skills of having that visual timer in front of you. This is what we do on the District 3 call. We try to share best practices. So let's take a few minutes of, if there's, before I do that, I recognize Katie Howard, my fellow board members. Katie Howard has joined. Tolton Pace, I see Lisa Bracken. There you go, Tolton. Tolton's our
We have
newest
board member Johnson too, who joined the call as
well.
well.
I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Welcome. Thank you all for that. So let's take a few minutes of questions for Ms. Sofianos, if there are any, and then we'll move into general Q&A.
Yep, and
Keith,
so
I'll let you direct
yep, and so right now we will, again, I know we're going to get to general Q&A, but right now we want to keep things focused towards anything that Ms. Audrey can answer for us. And so we'll go with Lisa and then take it from there. Good morning, Lisa.
Hi, we had SIN's Council for In-Town Neighborhood Schools meeting last night. So if there's anybody here from Hope Hill, go ahead and raise your hand, because I'm going to, one thing that came up last night from our Hope Hill SIN's rep was safety and security with the special needs at Hope Hill. And I believe he said that there's a walkthrough today about increase regards to traffic. But something that they were also looking at that sounded outside of the walk today is securing their playground, because a lot of people cut through their playground when they're parking at the MLK Center and walking to the MLK Center. And I had suggested last night that they reach out to you, Ms. Sofianos, one, with your new role, but two, because I remember as you had experience as a principal in securing our Morningside front playground. But aside from you, is there anything else that we can send back to our rep to help their schools?
I've made a note of this, and so we have. I have a small team here. I have a program director that I work with. And so what we try to do, because again, we want our principals to focus on instruction and student achievement. So we try to take some of those kinds of things and then we add it to our plate with our team here, so that we have actually a retired administrator that works for us part-time. So many times I give her things like that and say, hey, please keep an eye on this. Make sure it's moving. Make sure that, let's get with the principal. Let's get the information to the right people. And then she stays on it until there's some action or some next steps done. So that's a principal calling me. I'll call her in a minute. But I will add that to that list of kind of the non-instructional side of the house. Does that make sense?
Thanks. Yes, thank you so much.
And I think I saw in the chat, I think it's the Midtown High School swim team that was the state champions, I believe. I believe they're being recognized at the board meeting on Monday night. So very exciting. I know swim has been a big talk. I know we need more pools in Atlanta. That's for sure. I know I just saw something. They're going to do some repairs at the King Middle School pool in the summer. So that's good news. So I know there's always facility issues, lots of facility issues. And I've heard there's a community group trying to start looking at pool things in the Midtown cluster on a piece of APS land, which is exciting. It's exciting. I know up in Garden Hills pool, I know many people in Midtown use the Garden Hills pool. There's a pool at Chastain Park. I think they're looking at a model like those where it's park community and then schools can use it.
Right. If there's no other questions for Miss Sophie. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Good morning, Ben.
Hey, good morning. If there's a vacuum, I'll fill it. I thought I'd ask both Ken and Audrey. By the way, Audrey, congratulations and glad to see you in this role. I'm curious if there's any effort at the district level to help schools coordinate the right policy for personal electronic device usage in the school. I know Midtown has its policy, Sutton has its own, Howard has its own, and districts across the country are taking action on a more coordinated level. I'm just curious if you're seeing that as a priority at the district level. Thank you.
Yes, and tell Andrea I said hello.
For sure.
So I know that there has been they're looking at the data at Midtown to see the difference. So I do think there is some movement to look at that and see some of the positive improvements that I know are taking place. I know anecdotally, I've heard from parents, I've heard from teachers, I've heard from, of course, Dr. Bachman, what a change this is. I know they're working out some things in terms of because they have a pretty great system that they put together, but I know they're going to make it match better with the student code of conduct for the infractions that they're having. But I know that we're looking at the data, and I will tell you, that is something. As a former middle school principal, and I just encourage. I know we're it's a different world, and so I know parents many times feel like I want my kid to have that device for safety. I know people have purchased the various watches and things so they know where their kids are. And I think all that is great. And I certainly understand why people feel the need to do that. But when it comes to the learning and having that structure of a day where the kids don't have those devices in some way, I do think is the way that we do need to head. We want your kids to learn and be able to do that without distraction. And I know how hard it is for me as an adult. I have to monitor myself all the time. Or I will go into deep dives on the weekend where I'm just wasting my own time. And so, it's the same it's even worse for the kids. They're developing. They're not even fully developed. I'm a fully developed adult and I have issues with that. So I do think there is a move for that. So be looking for that at our other schools. Do you see the same thing?
Yeah, there's and it's in the chat. There's a couple things happening on parallel tracks. There's a legislative movement that the district is supporting that I think will provide some guidance. And I think this is just a question of when, not if. I think we're going to look back in the same way that we look back on cigarette smoking and said, what did we let kids do? What were we thinking? It'll be so obvious to us 10 years from now. What I would encourage folks to do, I think the secret sauce at Midtown has been a bottoms up plan that was developed. And so I would encourage Go teams because the code of conduct is supportive of it. It's just a question of how you want to implement it at your school. And so I would love to see these things meet in the middle, because I think what made Midtown successful, with their plan successful, is not that it came from the district directly. District could be more supportive, and I think we will be, but please take it to your Go teams and work with your local schools.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ben. Our next speaker is Dion. Good morning, Dion.
Morning, Ken. I just wanted to branch off on that. I have heard a lot of individuals say good things, but we also need to talk about the challenges that Midtown has had with the policy as well, and we do need district support. When you don't allow electronic devices or cell phones to be used, that makes you rely on your wireless system in the school more, or your broadband or whatever service you're using for the Chromebooks. So that is where we need more district support if this is going to be pushed out to more schools or even continue at Midtown. And then the devices that the district supplies and the students have to use and the staff have to use might need to be different at those schools that cannot use cellular devices to boost the signals to their personal devices, as well as staff to do those early morning procedures, and then the cost of yonder pouches if that is the route you go. I did participate in a Go Team legislative session and brought these concerns up because I think that when we talk about its implementation at Midtown, many people are saying about the successes, but they're not talking about the challenges. And if these things continue, or what we do with them, if we buy all new laptops like was recommended in the fall during a board meeting, we need to think about the schools that are doing these things and how to support them. So there is district support that's needed, even if the parents want them. There's things that we can't do that impact day-to-day curriculum and instruction. And, from my understanding, the board and the school system is required to provide the curriculum and the textbooks and whatnot. If those only live on computers, the kids need to be provided that in a way that they are all working in the school, not just some of them working every day.
That's good feedback, and that's why that's why I love this model of, because there have been some issues. I mean, I got a couple of kids that go to Midtown. I hear from parents all the time, and I think some of the issues you raise about which devices, like can they use CAD? Can they use some of these devices that they need for projects? And can they, if they have it on their computer at home? And so there are some of these details that need to get worked out. I think you're absolutely right, which is why I think I don't love the legislative from the top. I think working this from the bottom up is the right way to go. And we're making investments in Wi-Fi and want to make sure that all our kids have those options. I think nothing's going to be perfect, but I think that's why I love when our local communities get engaged and raise these issues, because some of them are specific for each community. So I appreciate the feedback.
Yes, thank you. I've added that to my list. Thank you.
All right.
Well,
So I just want to add to that. If you don't bring the people to the table and you only do surveys to subsets of groups, you won't get that feedback. So I do believe the Midtown Go team is doing a survey of hopefully all staff, all students, and all families or parents on the feedback of this last year. I know we talked about doing that at Howard as well. So just again, I think we need to be real when we're talking about these and the impacts of day-to-day, because it's very challenging for students to sit in classes for days upon days upon days with no materials.
I appreciate that. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you,
I'll
Dion.
check the chat. I know Ken, I can answer more questions, or I can just start working in the chat.
Yeah, I mean, I think let's see what else is. We can do both. Let's see what other questions folks have.
So I know Suzanne has her hand up. Do you wanna move forward with?
Yeah, I think we can open it up. We can open up to we're
Okay.
past 10:30 now, so
All right.
whatever's on. I'm sure
Yeah,
Suzanne and Marshall have something. Just positive comments here. No pushes. So I think we got the right people to start with.
Yep. So we'll go Suzanne and then to Marshall. Good morning, Suzanne.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Great to see you, Ken, Katie, and welcome to the district, Halton. Buckle up. And then obviously, Audrey, great to see you again. First off, my name is Suzanne Mitchell. I am a proud class of 2025 senior at Maynard Jackson High School and of twins, and both going to college and accepted. So very excited. And then obviously our Maynard Jackson Lady Jags, please root for them this Saturday as they hit the Final Four. I want to just do a quick shout out to the pivot and the support that we received from Audrey, Travis, Lisa, coming in to support our Go team to make sure that as we worked through our budget process, our concerns were heard, amplified, and helped us get to a point where we could move forward. So that's the type of collaboration, advocacy that needs to happen at the school level and Go team level, and the type of collaboration that we're looking to get from the district. So yay, thank you. And happy to have approved our draft budget. Secondly, been participating in the strategic planning process. I'm glad to see it rolling out. I would just like, this is specifically to the board members, I would just like you all, I would like to encourage the board members. We went through some of the goals and guardrails, and one of the things that was in place, and Katie and I have had a great dialogue about it, and I know we will continue to, is really talking about how we are addressing schools and operationalizing impact plans to help them if they are in 3 years of failure. And I would really like to see something active happening. I mean, we have had this in place through the strategic plan since Maria, and would really like to see what these plans are. Regardless if we're in a strategic planning mode, we still have to address schools, because right now we only have 3 clusters working a bit. I mean, Jackson still is in growth, as you all know, and we're still trying to get our act together. But how are we addressing failing schools? How are we operationalizing that work? And how are we holding the superintendent accountable? And I don't see that anywhere. And so that is part of our goals and guardrails. We need to have some operationalized plans put in place so that we know every child is showing up to these high schools being able to read and do these basic math and write and all that good stuff. So Ken, to you, really the question is, are you aware of that? And is there a strategy that you believe needs to happen now? I mean, we don't have to wait for the strategic plan. Each school needs a plan. And where are they for our schools that are underperforming and our long list on the promise list for the state? Where is the plan? So I really want to put that out there. I really want us as a district talking about this. And I know Dr. Johnson is new, but he has a lot of people around who are not, including board members. And so everybody has got to be accountable to this. So I just wanted to put it out here and hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're exactly right, Suzanne, that we have that clause. So just so folks just to level set, in the current guardrails, it says if a school is failing, and I'm not going to get this late, I'm paraphrasing here, but if a school is underperforming for 3 years, the district needs to take decisive action to support that school, and basically that we won't tolerate that's not going to work. So this is what we're going through this process right now through the strategic plans. We want to be intentional, and so We want to make sure that that's still how the community feels and what we think works. I personally think that's right. I mean, we don't want, we have to, accountability does not look punitive. It can look supportive. I think this is also in line as we're having these broader conversations around what the district looks like, what our footprint looks like. And I think all of these conversations need to land at the same time. And so I hear you, this should be done by summer. And so I expect that part of that is going to be pretty clear what happens to schools. I mean, and this is not we can't look at this in a vacuum. This is not disassociated from our budget challenges. And so when we have, resources can really help. We want to make sure those schools are supported. We want to make sure that we're holding the superintendent accountable. And so I think you'll see that. I would encourage you to fill out the survey. Sounds like you have. Company sessions. This will be, this is front and center for me. I think over the summer, you'll hear a concrete plan about how we're going to approach these schools systemically. There's no silver bullets, but
and that's fine. There is no silver bullet, but I just want to make sure that we don't have to wait for the strategic plan to begin this work. The work is already there for us to be doing, and so and it's been there for a decade now. So I just really want to make sure. I know we're trying to walk and chew gum. We're trying to build it while we're flying it. I get all of that, but these babies are not getting these years back, and they can't read and they can't do basic math. So I just want to raise the flag and put that real sense of urgency out there. So anyway, thank you. I appreciate
Agreed. And just on literacy, just to lift that up for a second, that the investment in readers or leaders or whatever that's going to evolve to is making a difference. I don't want to oversell the NAEP scores, but if you look at the past year, we outperformed every other metro in terms of growth. Now we got a long way to go, and so you won't see me brag about this in settings, but I do want people are with retention improving. Our investments in literacy, I think we have some of the pieces in place, but we cannot take our foot off the gas, and that's what I'm hearing you say, Suzanne. So
100% literacy.
Message received.
So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Suzanne. Our next speaker is Marshall, followed by Tamara. Good morning, Marshall.
Good morning. Nothing but positivity always can. And I'm going to take that laugh as an endorsement. So first off, I do want to shout out and raise out thanks to Ken and Katie and other folks downtown who helped with a facilities pivot on the Walden ill-fated bleachers project. So Midtown was appreciative of that. I know, and we're looking forward to where that savings ends up getting spent. I don't want to put the board on the spot or the board staff on the spot, but on this call, I do want to ask out loud, also probably for a decade, about the policy or practice of posting board material at 5 p.m. on a Friday for votes on Monday. Who makes that decision and how does it get changed? Because in terms of communication and getting engagement from the community, it's not the best. So maybe it's a rhetorical question because I haven't gotten an answer in 10 years. Maybe it's a tactical one that somebody can answer, or take it as feedback of something that has some room for improvement. Thanks.
Thank you for that, Marshall. And just so folks know, the district there's those open records requirements. So the district basically has had a common practice of right up to the minute of doing adhering to the letter of the law, if not the spirit of the law. And so I'll bring that back to staff. We'll bring that back to staff. What their answer is when I have mentioned is like we're keep working on stuff up until and that's.
So I'm just going to say, if you want folks engaged and informed, right, the biggest thing, impact, I agree, is the teacher and principal, but the biggest long-term impact happens at the board. And when nobody sees it till Friday at 6 for a Monday vote, it's nearly impossible to get feedback and consensus, let alone get more than 10 people to read it sometimes. So thanks for taking the comment.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Marshall. Our next speaker is Tamara, followed by Ansley. Good morning, Tamara.
Good morning. Marshall, I think we're going to be trading hats here a little bit. I'm going to talk about the budget. I watched the Budget Commission meeting yesterday, and I think you guys all know that high schools and middle schools kind of took a hit, like a hard hit, in this budget process. And I really do appreciate the district working with us to try to make it not quite as painful. And I'm happy that it worked out the way it did for Jackson. It seems to have plugged more holes in the IB high schools than in the STEM high schools and middle schools. And that's something that we really need to start working on. But what concerned me listening to the Budget Commission meeting is, I heard Dr. Bracken say she doesn't want to use the school's reserves to balance the budget. That happened last year. They took half of our reserve money. And when you're down to, what we're down to, it it makes a big difference. And I understand reservations about using fund balance, but I mean, the district and the board invested significantly in some very important things. The staff raises, the teacher raises, the nutrition, the ERP. And what I'm asking you, because we also saw a presentation from facilities about how the timeline has shifted now on some of those quote unquote tough decisions that y'all have to make to pay for all of these investments. And what I am looking at right now looks like we're still going to have these really, really hard budget conversations next year because I don't see in y'all's calendar how you, the board, are going to make those tough decisions between now and then. And I would just encourage you, please, to do that. I mean, the place that you shouldn't be taking the money out of the schools to balance your budget and to pay for these investments that you've made. And, even though we got some money back at Midtown, we're still down 7 teachers, 7 teacher positions. So 6, I think. So, we can raise money for paper and all that kind of stuff, but we can't pay for salaries. Like we cannot pay for more people. And y'all just need to pay attention to this and let us know how you plan to change it. Because I see the same thing coming next year. So if you have any comments about that, like how do you plan to not make it like this next year? I'd love to hear it.
Thank you for that, Tamara. And I know it has been, Dr. Johnson talked about this yesterday. It's been a tough budget season. We made, like I think you said it right, we made deep investments in compensation, and that does constrain us. Look, we're gonna have some tough decisions ahead of us because we can do anything we want. We just can't do everything we want, and we have got to start saying over the next few months. As Dr. Johnson rolls out the strategic plan and we think about the footprint and the size of what this district should look like, we're gonna have some tough decisions to make as a board. And I think Dr. Bracken, I know she's on the call. I won't put her on the spot, but we talked. I mean, for those of you that have been following these board commission meetings, you see our staffing ratios and the size of our schools is dramatically. As I say often, that we have this unintentional small school strategy. That is very expensive and not yielding terrific results, as Suzanne mentioned a minute ago. And so we're going to have to take a look at that. I hear you, and we're going to have to stiffen our spine and make some tough decisions in the months. Thanks, Tamara.
All right. Thank you, Tamara. Next speaker.